Our frequency make people uncomfortable. This is the burden of being a seer. When you see the truth, it makes you feel dangerous to some people's nervous system. And this is the cost of being the woman who see too much. Okay? So there's like, it's strange, but like when you see too much, people perceive you as dangerous because illusions require participation. And every family has this, every system has this, every relationship has this, every workplace has this, every religion has this as well, and every culture has this. These are invisible agreements, unspoken rules, it's silent contracts. And the moment you stop participating in the illusion is the moment that you are signaled to be a threat to them by the 3D matrix. The moment you stop pretending that the things that you experienced as a child, you know, and you acknowledge the fact that it was abuse or negligence, people will see you different. The moment you stop pretending your relationship is healthy because your body is communicating to you that there are some patterns in your relationship that are not healthy, all of a sudden you get labeled as being disruptive if you call it out. The moment you call out what you see as truth, you're creating conflict. It's because you're refusing to participate in the illusion, in the denial. And many women in this coven, many women I have worked with have had to go no contact with people. And a lot of times we become black sheep. Many have walked through a season that felt like death. Not physical death, but like death of your identity. And everything feels different. And this is what I call the underworld energy. This is the place where the old version of you dissolves. This is the place where the rescuer in you, that generational trauma of rescuing from the women before us, dies. This is where the performer in you dies and you stop performing to keep the peace. This is where the people pleaser dies. This is where you learn how to be sovereign. And some of the signs that you may be going through your own underworld experience could be everything feels stripped away and feels flat. It feels empty. Relationships feel like they're falling apart, or you see through the old mechanisms of your relationships. You may feel misunderstood by people. You may lose interest in certain activities that actually needed you to perform and participate and pretend. And you can no longer be that version of yourself anymore, and you feel it. The underworld is not a punishment. It is an initiation that we go through. This is the whole purpose in shadow work. Being a seer makes you dangerous. Now, I want to get into the cost of being the woman who sees more than other people see. Okay. So there's a cost to seeing things clearly. And it's not because truth is actually a dangerous thing. It's because when you refuse to participate in it, people feel exposed. And if people aren't comfortable with being seen, if people aren't comfortable with their shadow self, if people aren't familiar with their demons, then your frequency that you broadcast is going to feel uncomfortable to them. Okay. So even if you're not saying anything, and I hear it all the time, like I don't even really be saying nothing. I don't even really be doing anything to warrant for people to respond the way that they do to me, to react the way that they do to me. And so even if you don't feel those things, um, as being something that you're intentionally doing, they feel like you're intentionally doing it. And when you can see through people, when you can see through the things that they pretend to be because it makes them feel better about themselves, when you can see people's inadequacies, this is actually where intimidation happens. They feel intimidated by it. And so, back in the day, people would say, well, men are intimidated by women who make a certain amount of money. It was never really about the money. It was more so about the capacity, the access. And so this is the issue when you are a woman who can see a lot. And when you walk through this season, I remember one of my first memories of going into the underworld in my own personal life was when I was homeless. And it was as if nobody in my family could see the danger of me being 9 months pregnant and homeless. They couldn't see the danger enough to offer help. It was like I was invisible. My niece was invisible. My screams were silent. And it didn't matter, what I was going through. Nobody stepped up to help me. And I never like did anything to these people, so it wasn't warranted because of my own personal behavior. It was actually quite the opposite. I've always been a lover, always been a lover, always been an empath, always been a goddess of compassion, mercy, and grace, even to the point of my own, creating dangerous situation for myself, which is why I started moving differently and teaching and sharing as I go through this journey. But I had to go through that, and I had to learn how to grieve properly. So I need you to know it's not a punishment. This is a cataclysm that's happening to be a catalyst for you, okay? Because society hates women who have open third eyes, women who have a second sight. It's not our boundaries isn't the issue, it's the refusal to be manipulated that's the issue, because they depend on us to be confused. Control depends on you to doubt yourself, and illusions, they are determined by how much you're willing to abandon yourself. And when you stop moving this way, when you start moving as a goddess, you disrupt these patterns. You notice the patterns. You see through the 3D matrix. You notice when words and actions do not align. You notice when somebody is being kind to you, but there is actually resentment behind the kindness underneath the surface. You stop comparing yourself to other people, and you stop competing with other women. You start saying uncertainty as not a reason to fear, but as a reason for you to be more cautionary and use divination to help you make decisions. They'll say you're being too sensitive, or you're being dramatic, or you just reading too much into stuff. You just creating problems. You ever had a man say, like, you just be creating problems, you just be coming up with arguments? No, you see something that maybe they don't see, and you're calling it out, and the accuracy of that, it triggers inadequacies in other people. Some of the things that go along with this is hypervigilance, chronic exhaustion, difficulty relaxing, digestive stress, sleep disturbances, feeling responsible for other people, feeling guilty when you rest, feeling anxious when you're trying to be calm. And these things happen not because you're broken, but because your nervous system has been trained that paying attention is the only way you're going to survive. So your body has become a detection system, and your intuition has become a safety strategy. And eventually your gift, became a burden when you didn't have the tools to manage it, until you learn how to separate what you can see from what you're responsible for addressing and dealing with. We don't have to address everything. Now, part 3 of this message is about the initiation of the seer. So the greatest lesson of the oracle, which is a seer or sibyl, is to know that seeing is not saving. Let me say that again. Seeing does not require your saving. You can recognize somebody's wound without becoming responsible for healing it. You can understand their pain without carrying it. You can love them without abandoning yourself. And a lot of women confuse compassion with responsibility. And we attract people into our lives that expect this from us. They expect for us to always be the first ones to forgive, to always be compassionate, to always give mercy and grace. But we have to use our intuition and know when it's time to pull back, because your gift was not meant to make you a martyr or a scapegoat. Your gift was not meant to make you feel obligated to manage other people. The oracle's job is not to rescue. Our job is to simply witness what we're being shown, whether it's in the physical or the non-physical. What protects us is being able to be clear, knowing who we are, having specific mantras and affirmations that are aligned with our personal Akashic records that reflect our soul contract. And these are some of the most protective, transformative things that I could share with you right now, besides the music. Because I'm working on the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. When you do both, you have a lot more success. You can still love deeply and have your boundaries. You can still carry wisdom without feeling like you have to carry everybody else who may not be operating in wisdom. That is true sovereignty. That is what I call sacred detachment. And that is what this initiation is all about. And as you start to learn to navigate this underworld energy, you will create your own tools and your own systems as well. But when you tap into a system that's already been created, that has been proven to work, you're going to have a lot more success with navigating. life as a woman who is a seer.